Hey everybody, Dean Giles here for practice session number 42. And this will be the second in our groove study practice sessions. So we'll be playing groove number 2 from groove study number 1. And this groove, of course, will have the same hand pattern, the one we've been talking about in our lesson on grooves and also in our first groove study. And that is right, right, together, right, 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 together, right. And that's for, of course, you right-handed players with the right hand playing on a cymbal or hi-hat and the left hand playing on the snare. We'll do it for you one time on the pad like this. Right, right, together, right, 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 together, right. And now with groove study number 2, we're going to have 2 foot taps or 2 bass drum hits on the 1 count and on the 3 count this time. Okay, so bass drum on the 1 and bass drum on the 3. So let's see kind of how that would look if we just practiced it on the pad and did a foot tap. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and bass drum 2 and bass drum 4 and bass drum, then a snare, bass drum and snare. Foot tap, snare drum, foot tap, both hands together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, I think you get the idea of the coordination there. Again, we're going to be doing this with our 3 tempos, 40, 50, and 60, 8 measures at 40, 16 measures at 50, and 24 measures at 60. So, let's just go to the kit and play this thing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 3 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6 and 2, 3 and 4 and 7 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 8 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 2, 3 and 4 and 4 and 2 and 4 and 5 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6, 2 and 3 and 4 and 7 and 2, 3 and 4 and 8 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 2 and 4 and 5 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6 and 3 and 4
and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 2 and 3 and 4 and 6 and 2 and 3, 4 and 7 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 8 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3, 2 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6, 2 and 3 and 4 and 7 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 8, 2 and 3 and 4 and...
Okay, everybody, hope you did well there with practice section number 42. This groove is the iconic rock drum groove. It's probably the one you're going to be playing in your career almost more than any other groove. So spend some time on this, really get comfortable with it. Thanks a lot for watching, really appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.